Hey, Matthew, it's Larry again.
Hey
And
Larry.
you've been traveling around the world 2 times in the last couple of years, and you'll be doing it again this fall. And you get to see internationally all the different developments and interesting things happening in different countries around the world with Touch for Health. Tell us about some of the stuff that's happening outside of the US that might be of interest to all of us here.
Well, Larry, it's true. Claudia and I have had the great, wonderful experience and privilege to have people around the world doing Touch for Health and other kinesiology invite us to come and see what they're doing and share a little bit about what we've been doing. So we've been spending years now going around the world with Touch for Health. So yeah, I have a couple of things I'd like to share about that. One development is that the previous Touch for Health book, we said it's been shared in at least 15 languages. Sometimes some count has brought it up to like 23 languages. But now the complete edition that my father worked so hard to finish before he died in 2005 is now out or soon to be out in 10 different languages. So it's out in most of the European languages. We just came out with a new French edition. It's out now in Italian. Of course, it started in English, then Dutch, German, Spanish. It came out in Korean already. It's just came out last year in Japanese. It's coming out, and we'll be visiting Russia later on this year, and they'll be having an international conference in Russia. And so the book is coming out in Russian. And then the next one to come out is not ready quite yet, but it'll be coming out in Chinese. So Touch for Health continues to be spread. And in some of these other parts of the world where we haven't been visiting as much and been thinking about kinesiology in those parts of the world, watch out for those areas like Russia and China, because there's some very enthusiastic people who are getting the Touch for Health bug, and it's starting to spread there. And in particular, for example, in Japan, when the book came out just last year in Japan and I visited there, we taught a large group of 50 or 60 people Touch for Health 1 through 4 following the complete edition. And of course, it was actually mostly instructors who took all 4 levels just to see how to work with the complete edition. And in that group, we have a very enthusiastic new generation of instructor trainers coming up who are training more and more people in Japan. In fact, last year, they taught 100 new instructors just in Japan.
Wow.
In China, last year, they had their first Greater China Kinesiology Conference. So that was speakers coming from Taiwan, mainland China, different areas of mainland China, Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, etc., and people coming from Hong Kong. So it's very interesting to see a whole kinesiology conference, almost all speakers coming from different areas of China. And so they're making their own new developments. For example, our faculty in China, Amy Choi, has been sharing for years something that she calls Qi-nesiology, combining Qigong or Tai Chi and kinesiology. So bringing in more of that Chinese aspect, but combining it with our Western development of Touch for Health kinesiology. So I think in the near future, we're going to start seeing some very interesting developments coming from the East, from Japan, from China, from Asia. So that's exciting.
Can I ask you a quick question about that?
Yeah.
Since a lot of what we do in Touch for Health is meridian-based, when people in China start learning Touch for Health, what do they think about the fact that the West has taken their tradition and is now revamping it and reformatting it?
Well, you know, I had the opportunity to speak at one of the top universities in Beijing University. And there was an older gentleman with a long beard, and he was an acupuncturist, a very traditional acupuncturist. And he was right in the front row. And he sort of asked me at one point, what are these points that you're rubbing there? What is it that you think you're doing? And I explained, well, we just rub these points to energize kidney 27, and we find it's quite energizing and balancing in many different ways. He said, oh, that's very interesting. You know, in traditional Chinese medicine, we do treatment of conditions. We don't do that much teaching of people to take little bits and pieces to help for themselves. He said, that's actually kind of cool what you're doing, showing people what they can do to care for themselves. So the same Touch for Health model works in China the same way it works for us. So that was a nice confirmation that what we're doing here is valuable even in China, where we got so much of the source of our model of energy balancing.
Oh, great. So any other countries that have some interesting developments?
Well, another interesting development, you know, we've gone through so many stages over the 40 years in different countries. And in some countries, Touch for Health and energy kinesiology have been there so long, they've really developed like a strong profession to the point where they get government recognition in Australia and many countries in Europe. The national insurance actually covers kinesiology with certain defined qualifications. So they have some very strong professional associations. So there's many different professional associations. They've taken different approaches of how to organize the profession. But my favorite model is the model of what's called the DGAK, which is a professional association in Germany. And they have always preserved from the beginning that they started their professional association 2 tracks. One is called the medical kinesiology track, and the other one is called accompanying kinesiology. And accompanying kinesiology is the model for people who don't necessarily have to have a medical background or medical training. And they have the model that that's a person who knows the techniques to accompany someone in their own journey, in their own development, in their own balancing of themselves in an assistant accompanying role, not a diagnosis and treatment role. So it's very strong in their professional association. And that model is so popular in Germany that a lot of the medical doctors who study kinesiology want to be called accompanying kinesiologists rather than medical kinesiologists because they like that holistic model and they want to use it even in their medical practice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So those are some of the developments, what's going on. And if you see me at the conference, you can ask me because I got lots of other stories I'll share them with you when I see you.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you there.
All right. See you there, Larry.